As I'm sure everyone watching this video knows, at the time of this recording, the new movie The Batman has been released and is doing quite well. And spoiler alert, the Riddler is the primary antagonist of said film, which has unsurprisingly caused an interest in the Riddler that's even bigger than the last time the character hit the big screen, likely because unlike that time, this time the movie was actually, well, good. So in the interest of that, I thought I'd talk about a Riddler tale most of you have probably never heard of, that being The Brave and the Bold 183 from 1982, titled ominously, The Death of Batman, written by Don Carr, and with art by comics legends Carmine Infantino and Mike DiCarlo. A quick backstory on the title for those of you not familiar. The Brave and the Bold was a title that debuted in 1955 and was of course published by DC Comics. It ran for 200 issues all the way up until 1983. It went through several format changes at the time, starting out as a title featuring the adventures of heroes set in the past such as the Viking Prince, the Golden Gladiator, the Silent Knight, and Robin Hood. It then became sort of a tryout book similar to Showcase Comics, where among other things, it served as the first appearance of both the Justice League and the Teen Titans. But shortly after that, it evolved primarily to a team-up book with issue 50, before becoming exclusively Batman team-ups with issue 74. Similar to later titles DC Comics Presents, which focused on Superman team-ups, or Marvel Comics Marvel Team-Up and Marvel 2-in-1, which featured Spider-Man and the Thing team-up stories respectively. The Batman team-up format continued through the rest of the book's run, including the very issue that this video is focused on. This one took a different approach from most issues though, for it was not a fellow superhero that Batman would team up with, or even a fellow superhero's girlfriend. No, this issue Batman would team up with one of his biggest arch-enemies, the Riddler. Yes, teaming up with the Riddler, not facing off against him. Well, mostly not facing off against him. The story starts with the Riddler in solitary confinement when he is delivered a mysterious deck of cards inviting him to play a game before the door swings open and lets him escape his cell. And if you're wondering how said person was able to break him out, don't. It's never explained. Apparently, that was none of our business. Shortly thereafter, celebrated mystery writer H. Rutherford Crichton is kidnapped during the annual banquet of the Bow Street Constabulary and Amateur Cracksman Society for the Advancement of Forensic Studies. Seriously, that's what they're called. Wow, that's a mouthful. I think the orientation should be saying the name from memory because if you can pull that off, you deserve to be a member. This is a group that celebrates the glories of detective fiction. I know, the name made that obvious, right? The kidnappers of H. Rutherford Crichton then says if anyone wants to see the writer again, to bring Batman to the police station at 10:30 p.m. Batman arrives to see a game left for him. I got a kick out of the fact the comic had Batman asking what the rules the game came with were. Then the very next page was an ad for the Bubble Yum sweepstakes. This madman has gone too far. But in actuality, the game required Batman to solve a series of clues without Gotham PD or the writer would be killed. It contained a clue that sent Batman to a phone booth in Gotham City, where it was then revealed that was also where the Riddler's clue from the beginning of the story had sent him, as the person behind this deadly game has now forced the two adversaries to team up, Riddler going along with it because of his fascination with puzzles, making him unable to resist, and Batman going along to save Crichton from his kidnappers. The story then had Batman and Riddler go on a wild goose chase all over Gotham, before eventually finding our kidnapper. But is everything as it seems? No, of course it isn't. Even in the Bronze Age, Batman mysteries seldom are. Because the man behind this is H. Rutherford Crichton, who staged his own kidnapping and launched an elaborate hoax in order to kill the Batman. This was not that much of a surprise, really. No suspects has been lined up, so who else could have been behind this? Short of the Joker or someone making a surprise appearance. I did kind of like the added twist that Crichton had set up a series of events that kept Batman busy the last 6 weeks to wear him down, which was set up in the beginning but didn't seem like an obvious clue. But it could also be argued it didn't seem connected because how would Crichton be able to engineer 6 weeks of high-profile crime that was able to keep the Batman that busy in the first place? Why would Crichton do this? Well, because before Batman came along, he was the person that the Gotham police would bring in to help with difficult crimes. But Batman robbed him of that glory and that opportunity to solve actual crimes. So with Crichton now dying, something not mentioned before, he was going to pull off the perfect caper and kill Batman. Or something like that. That's the best I can explain it. He also figured out Batman was Bruce Wayne, which as anyone who reads comics knows, especially in older comics, If the villain knows your secret identity, they're not making it out of the story alive. And then, in an attempt to burn Batman alive, he lit the hedge maze that they were surrounded by on fire. Before, surprise, surprise, and I use that saying loosely, the Riddler saved him as Crichton was burned alive in the fire, dead before he could tell Batman's secret, but not in a way Batman was directly responsible for. Word of advice to any future villains watching this video: if you figure out a superhero's secret identity, just make it public. Don't lord it over them, because if you do, you are signing your own death warrant. But why did the Riddler save Batman, you ask? Because he wanted to know the final piece of the puzzle. For him, the game was everything. But since the final piece of the puzzle was Bruce Wayne as Batman, Bats left him hanging. So Batman and the Riddler team it up. Was it any good? Honestly, I do feel that I should give some leeway. Bronze Age stories were written in a different time and catering largely to a younger audience than most comics today, so they're usually not going to read as well compared to what comic fans are used to these days. And for the time, I'm sure seeing Batman and the Riddler teaming up was a big deal. But for anyone reading it today, I gotta say, it was not the best read. The villain's identity would be pretty obvious to most people, as well as a minor flaw in the story that I can't take credit for noticing, but was pointed out in the letter column of issue 188, which was where the fan feedback for this issue was printed. Reader Jeffrey Loans pointed out that they forgot Riddler's purple belting gloves. Gotta admit, you'd think the editor would have noticed that. I mean, to be fair, when I was reading it, I didn't notice that, but I'm also not the editor. Even more of a critique I had with this issue is the interactions between Batman and the Riddler were pretty surface level. There was no big character exploring moments between the two like I felt a story like this should have had. More modern comics have had these two together, especially during the time Riddler went semi-legit, so while them teaming up was a novelty at the time, there are better and likely more easy to find reads with the same theme. But even so, anyone looking for something a bit different in a Riddler comic might want to check out this very of-its-time story that, while maybe not a great tale, is not without its charm. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. I'm Dan the Man, and I'll see you next time.